All right. I'm back here for another live stream. So, we will be open for questions and comments here. But I'm also going to do something a little bit special here. I'm actually going to go a little bit behind the scenes here and record a video response to somebody while I'm on live stream right here. Okay, so y'all basically are getting to hear a little bit behind the scenes of a future upcoming video in response to this individual, the King Lion. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started with that. Again, if anybody has question or comment, you're welcome to ask that in the chat here. And when I'm done with this response, I will acknowledge whatever is asked there. So anyway, I'm gonna begin that here. So recently, there was this individual goes by the name of the King Lion, who did a video response to not only myself but to Jay, Sacramento Truth Movement. Apparently, these guys are like going back and forth or something. So I happened to watch the video, right? I just happened to see this in my video feed. So I was clicking on it, I was watching it, and this guy doesn't name me by name, but by listening to what he's saying, you obviously see he's alluding to me, and he, alludes to my conversation I had recently with Jay. Now, initially, I was planning on including a couple clips from his video in here, but guess what? Believe it or not, he actually deleted the video. Like, he had it up for maybe like 3 days because this happened like maybe a week ago, week and a half ago, something like that. I was planning on doing a response to him for like a couple of days, but I just couldn't get around to it due to stuff going on. But initially I got around to sitting down to do the video, and I go ahead and look on his page to pull up the video I wanted to, play for y'all to listen to this guy talk. And the video is nowhere to be found. So it's like, what the hell? Bro, King Lion, or as this guy's really called, Loving Christian, is what this guy's name was years ago. Now he calls himself the King Lion. It's like, well, bro, where the hell did the video go? Like, why'd you take it down? Like, if you actually had some type of talking point against Jay or myself, like, what's the point of taking the damn video down? You know what I'm saying? And it's funny, King Lion, because you said a lot of lies in that video, which I'm going to criticize and call you out. Okay? Now, first of all, I want to point out in your video, you not one time mentioned me by name. But obviously, I know you're alluding to me based on certain things you said in the video and alluding to my conversation that me and Jay had, right? Like, he was like, oh, well, Jay's on there, like, all this, Adolf and German stuff. It's like, well, wait a second. The only place you see that is that stream that me and him did a couple of days ago. And by the way, Loving Christian, I know that you're watching my videos because he said in his video, oh, well, I don't really watch this other individual. I just randomly got recommended this. It's like, okay, well, is it not true that like 2 or 3 weeks ago you did 2 videos about the very same topics I did a video about, like, what, less than a week prior? Like, say, for 2 examples, I did a video about Romans 13, then he did a video about Romans 13. I did a video about why Mecca is not Babylon, then he does a video about why Mecca is not Babylon. Like, I mean, come on. You're obviously watching what I'm saying and taking from that. And, again, I don't have any problem with that, but I'm just pointing out your statement is not true. You're not going to sit there and say, well, I don't really watch that guy. ETT. I don't really watch him. It's like, okay, well, how do you have like 2 videos that are on the same topic that I was just recently talking about? And you're saying like the same thing about it? Like, come on, man. I obviously see a lion for your teeth. And just for the record, to make this straight, I'm not coming on here, putting any hate against the loving Christian, or as he calls himself, the King Lion. I'm not coming up here saying, let's hate on this guy, or, any of that stuff. You know, I've known this guy for probably like, damn, it got to be almost like 9 years, believe that or not. I've known this individual. This is actually one of the few people that was back from when I used to do live streams with Kyle, aka the Vigilant Soldier, and Rock Upon Him, right? This was and Ridge. Ridge was back then as well. Those were like basically the couple of guys who I first started doing YouTube with back in late 2015, early 2016. Right, just a fun backstory with that. So I'm not trying to, say any hate or disrespect against this individual, but I'm just pointing out that he's not telling the truth. He's being willfully dishonest with himself. And again, if that's how he wants to be, then he's welcome to live that way. But some things you said are just not true, so you need to be criticized and called out for that. Like, I'll give you an example. He'll sit there and talk about how, Jay's, obsessed with him. And you know what? I don't know their private messages back and forth, so I can't comment on that, if he's really obsessed with him or not. But let me tell you something that you guys don't know. Going back to like 2019, for like 2 months on end, this individual, the loving Christian, or as he calls himself, the King Lion, he literally did videos in response to my videos every single day for multiple hours on end. I kid you not, this is true. And King Lion, if you're listening to this video, you know that is true. Now, I'm not going to hold that against you, but I just want you to realize the hypocrisy of how you're going to sit there and say other people are obsessed with you. But yet you sit there and do like 30 videos about somebody, right? Like one here, one there, one here, one there. Literally, I'm telling you, it was every single day, right? I literally would wake up and go on YouTube and say, oh, look, Loving Christian did another 4-hour video response to me. And he literally did this shit for 2 months on end. Like again, Loving Christian, don't sit there and lie, man. This is true. And also, you did a couple troll videos to myself, Rock, and Ridge. You put a damn voice changer on it to think that you won't get, recognized. But you were. And you know what? I'm going to be the adult here and say, you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to hold that against him. Hey, everybody makes mistakes sometimes, right? The best of us, we all make mistakes. And everybody should be able to be forgiven for their mistake. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, you know what? I think Jay's making a big mistake by turning on the Bible and Christ and believing in Germany and Adolf and, all that stuff. I think he's making a very big mistake with what he's doing. But you know what? I think he can be forgiven for that. If he, acknowledges that he is wrong and, apologizes for how he's treating certain people and, turns from that wicked belief that he has. Again, everybody makes mistakes. Every single one of us, man. So hey, Loving Christian made a mistake. He can be forgiven for that. But I want you to acknowledge that what I'm saying is true. You can't sit there and criticize someone like Jay. Oh, well, this guy's like obsessed with me. And again, I don't know their private conversations or comments back and forth. I don't know that. But what I do know is that a couple of years ago, 6, 7 years ago, this individual did videos about me relentlessly every single day, literally multiple hours every single day. So if there's somebody obsessed with somebody, I think that's the King Lion, at least in some point or another. Another thing I don't understand is what the beef is between the King Lion and myself, because the last live stream that me and this individual were on together was like 4.5 years ago, right? We both messaged each other on, I believe it was like a Discord or Gmail. and we arranged to have a discussion about Revelation, the 9th chapter, and maybe a couple other subjects. And it was actually a pretty good conversation. You can even find it on my channel even to this very day, if anybody wants to check that out. But I think it was a pretty good conversation, right? Even though we don't agree, it was a fruitful conversation between both of the views. Um, so I just want to bring it up and say that based on our last conversation 4.5 years ago, I don't know where the disrespect comes in, because I think the conversation ended off very respectful between him and myself. Again, even if we don't hold the same view, maybe we disagree, but the conversation ended respectfully. So I don't get where like the hate or the disrespect that he has towards me is at. And by the way, I've offered this individual over the years, said, hey man, I'll be live, if you want to come by, you're always welcome to come by and chat. And the dude's, nowhere to be seen. So if there is a problem, he had all this opportunity and time. Shit, somebody can do the math on that. How many months is that he's had to stop by a stream and have a conversation? I mean, shit, we're going back so far back, the mind of Shrek days. It might be a shock to some of you, but I've only known Shrek, right? T-Mog, I've only known him since 2018, but I've known King Lion back since 2015 or 2016. Just a fun fact to throw out there. So I just don't get where, like, the disrespect is. And another thing I found weird that he said about me is he said, well, this guy, and he didn't really want to mention my name because maybe he thought I'd see the video and say something about it. Maybe that's why he took the video down, right? But he's like, yeah, well, this guy, he doesn't really teach anymore. He just does like, dumb live streams, like open panel streams where they just talk to people. It's like, okay, well, first of all, when did I ever stop teaching? I mean, you can literally look on my channel if in the last, let's just say 2 years, I find plenty of scripture breakdowns and teachings and debates. But what all those debates revolve around is the true understanding of what the text says, right? And I've taken, over the course of time, thousands of questions and comments from the audience listening in about understanding of this verse or that verse or this custom or that custom, so on and so forth, right? So what are you talking about that he doesn't really teach anymore. He just does like ranting videos or, open panel streams. Like, what are you talking about, man? You're just talking out of your behind is what you're doing. You're just making a fool of yourself for no reason. Like, again, somebody don't like me, you don't like me, but, don't sit there and, say something that's not true about me. Like, come on, let's grow up a little bit. So King Lion, I'm going to tag your channel in the name of this video. And I want you to do a response to this. And again, you don't have to like me, you don't have to be buddy with me. I'm not asking that. But what I am asking you to do is to be honest with what you are saying, because you are saying lies about myself, and that's not cool. Now, again, I can't answer and say as to, Jay or these other individuals you're talking about, because I don't know what's going on over there behind the scenes. I don't know what your guys, text back and forth for. So I'll leave that between y'all. I don't know there. But what I will tell you is that you said a lot of lies about me. And you know what? Even though we both might disagree as to the understanding of the Bible or, interpretation of this or that, we should both understand that it is a sin to lie on somebody, right? So if you claim you believe in Christ and, a teacher of Christ, so why are you turning around and lying on somebody? Like, say, for instance, saying, oh, well, this guy, you stopped teaching. I was like, where the hell have I ever stopped teaching? I mean, unlike you, King Lion, I've actually been out to the streets and taught, right? Unlike you, I've actually been persecuted, like in real life, Right now, you might get persecuted online by trolls and shit. I'm not going to deny that. That's true. And I've seen you, go through that over the years. I'm not going to say you haven't because you have. That's true. But, I've had this stuff experience in real life. I've had to be held up, in a mental institution over teaching the Bible. Okay. So, I have that experience. And guess what? You know what? Let me tell you something. When I was in there, for a little while I was in there, I still spread the message in there. Warn people about the MOTB, you got to believe in Christ, this and that. I still did that. Even when this this devil, right, this government system had me under their control, right, under their power when I was in there. And I still taught the word of the Lord. So don't sit there and say that I stopped teaching. I've never stopped teaching. When the hell have I ever stopped teaching? Like, again, I don't want to sit there and call you a liar, but what you're saying is not true. And if you're saying something that is not true, what does that make you? A liar, right? So I bring all this up to say that King Lion or Vigilant Christian, or I should say the Loving Christian, excuse me. Hell, get some of these guys' names mixed up because they're very similar. Oh, Vigilant Soldier, Vigilant Christian, the Loving Christian, right? You get these guys' names mixed up because they're all like so similar. But yeah, man, King Lion, as I said, I just putting this out there because you said some misinformation and lies about me. I'm not trying to do this video out of hate or disrespect, but I want you to be honest with what you're saying. You can't sit there and talk about other people being obsessed with you, but yet you sat there and did like, 30 videos, hour long videos about me every single day. Well, not 30 a day, but you know what I'm saying. Like, say for 30 days straight, you do like one video for 3 or 4 hours. And this is true, man. You know what I'm saying is true. So let's not pretend that it's not. And then another thing that he brought up and said is that, oh, these guys are just doing, like useless open panels and debates. Like how is that, doing anything good for the ministry? How's that doing anything for the Lord? It's like, bro, what the hell are you talking about? The Bible says, was that First Peter 3:15, be ready always to give an answer unto anyone who asks the reason of your belief. So guess what? We're giving people an answer when they question what we believe and teach. And when we have these debates, there's nothing wrong with doing these debates. Do you even know what the term debate means? Look that up. Right? It's my beliefs and worldviews against another person's worldviews and beliefs. And we can put the two together to try to figure out who is right and who is wrong. Right? Put the talking points together to find out who's right and who's wrong about whatever the topic is. So how can you sit there and say, oh, well, it's like, useless to do these type of conversations. Like, well, what are you talking about, dude? you know, like seriously. Like, say for instance, man, like what are you doing for your audience that listens to you? I know you have a channel. Well, you have one channel that got like what 300, and you got another one that has like 2,000 or whatever. It's like, why are you not doing any live streams, man? Well, why are you not doing any live streams to interact with your comments, right? With your commenters or your followers to any degree. Again, whether they agree or disagree with you. So, I mean, again, I think any logical person looking at either your ministry over there or my ministry over here, they'd say, well, yeah, ETT is way more active about, spreading the ministry and interacting with the crowd compared to Vigilant, or I should say Loving Christian. Again, getting these dudes' names mixed up because they're so similar. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, why are you not doing any type of live interactions with the chat? Right? You don't bring anybody up to talk to you. And if you do address any comments, it's very brief. At least that's what it seems like to me. Man, so it just doesn't seem right to me to sit there and try to pretend that I'm like doing something like so wrong and bad. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody explain that to me. Like what am I doing exactly that's like so distasteful or something or whatever you want to say. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Oh, and another thing that he said I want to talk about is he said, "Well, look, well, I've been trying to tell these people in these truth communities for years that Jay was like some type of like weird, perverted person. And see, they're starting to realize it. They didn't want to believe me." It's like, well, knucklehead, in case you didn't know, um, behind closed doors, we've been talking with some people in this little community we got and saying, yeah, have y'all realized that Jay's, acting a little bit strange over the last, couple of months or whatever? Like this guy is totally, going off with what he's talking about this German stuff and about, Adolf and about how Satan might actually be a woman and about, Christ was born on September 11th and, all this other bullshit. So yeah, nobody sat there and just now magically on one stream realized this guy was weird. Like that's not what's been going on. Like again, you don't have access to the Discord servers, which by the way, if you're listening and you'd like a link to the Discord server, just ask down below in the comment section and I can provide that with you. I'd be glad to bring you up. Both the King Lion and anybody else that's listening to this video. Man, so what I'm saying is that, we just need to be a little bit more honest here. Because I think you're being dishonest with your audience, right? You're saying, on one hand, well, I don't really watch his videos. I just randomly got the video recommended. It's like, okay, well, how the hell you upload like 2 videos last week about the very same topics that I just talked about? Oh, but that's just all a coincidence, though. That's just all a coincidence. I mean, come on, man. Are you serious? You know you're watching my live streams and videos. You just don't want to say you are. And it's like, so what? I mean, who cares if you're watching or not? I mean, you're not going to win any type of reward for it. But I mean, what's the point of saying you're not watching when you are? You know what I'm saying? Like what is there to gain from that? Like what's the point of lying to say, oh, I'm not really watching. I just happened to, see this one random stream that came up and just clicked on it. It's like, okay, but you didn't watch my stuff, but you took the very same video topics I just talked about last week, and now you did them, but you don't watch my stuff though. I mean, come on, man, something is not adding up right there. Come on. So yeah, man. I mean, and I don't have to make this too, drawn out and long winded or whatever, but I'm just pointing out this fact that the King Lion just needs to be a little bit more honest with what he's talking about because he's clearly being a hypocrite here. Right? I clearly gave multiple examples of how he's being a hypocrite. And going back to the trolling days, right, with Kyle, Ridge, and Rakapana, which only a couple of you people on this channel now in 2026 know what I'm talking about. You have to be a longtime viewer of my content to know what I'm talking about. Like say for one honorable mention, like brother Luke from Australia, he was with us back then, right? He was watching our content back then. So shout out to that brother, just for one honorable mention. Um, but yeah, man, back then, with all this troll stuff going on, yeah, you had a video or two, man, that you just like masked your voice so you could like, troll and talk shit about somebody. Don't think we forgot about that. Right? So I don't bring that up to condemn you. I bring that up just to say that how are you going to sit there and pretend that you didn't do any of that stuff when you did? So if you acknowledge you did, well, how can you sit there and condemn other people for things? And I'm not bringing this up to say let's hold this against him forever. I'm not saying that. I acknowledge he did that, but hey, it's all right. It's not really a problem, but I just don't see how you could sit there and criticize other people, "Oh, well, these other guys are, like, stalking me or something or being obsessed with me." But then you turn around and do a troll video about these other guys. I mean, come on, man, and then try to use a voice changer so it doesn't sound like it's you. Come on. You know you did that once or twice, man. And again, I don't bring all this up to, make him feel bad or, prove that I'm better than anybody. I'm not bringing it up to say that. But all I'm saying is that, you can't really sit there and throw shots at me when this is the stuff that you've done behind closed doors. Hey, look, nobody has shit to say about me. I'm just going to lay it out the way it is. All right. Hey, look, I'm just going to lay out the facts. I'm going to keep it 100, as the saying goes, or I'm keeping it 100. Nobody has shit to say about ETT because ETT ain't doing nothing wrong, right? ETT ain't getting involved in other people's business that don't involve him. Not getting involved in this bullshit drama like these guys on Discord. Like, that's a whole nother thing to talk about. Is all these guys on Discord, getting all involved in these, petty little topics and shit. It's like, hey, look, the way I look at it, if y'all got contention or disagreement, just jump on a voice call or a live stream on YouTube and have a discussion about whatever it is that you guys are disagreeing about. Like, what's the point of sending, 50 text messages back and forth over the course of, 45 minutes? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell is that solve? That just, waste your time and my time. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I was on Discord earlier in like a chat room, like a text chat room, and there was some knucklehead asking me, "Well, hey man, why do you got that star of was it Refam or Reframe or whatever deity they claim at the quote unquote Star of David is from?" And I was trying to tell him, well, look, this. Well, first of all, according to the Bible, it's not a star because the Bible says in Wisdom of Solomon 13:2 that the stars are circles, right? Stars are circles in the Bible, not this, what we call stars today, right? What people in the world call stars today, right? The six-pointed shape or whatever. That's just what people call stars, but in the Bible they're called circles, right? And then I went to 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 18 and 19, where it talks about Solomon decorating the temple with lily flowers and pomegranate fruit. The inside of a pomegranate fruit typically looks like the Star of David shape, right? The quote unquote star shape. And the lily flower can be depicted as that quote unquote star shape. So that's really what the Star of David necklace represents, is a lily flower or the inside of a pomegranate fruit. So the knucklehead, still didn't want to accept the answer. So I tell him, okay, well, instead of sending 50 comments back and forth, I'm going live later today. Do you want to just jump on the stream and like talk for a couple minutes about why we both see it differently? And Knucklehead's like, oh, well, I don't got time. Well, I can't do that. I can, be a neckbeard and sit on, Discord all day, but I don't have time to talk for 15 minutes. Oh, I can't do that. I mean, come on, this is, it's getting just damn pathetic out here, it really is just getting pathetic and ridiculous out here. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'll wrap that video up there. I don't really don't have much else to say. That was really all I had to say about the King Lion there. And I'll wrap it up there. All right. So for my people on the live stream listening, that was a little bit of behind the scenes exclusive look at me recording a separate video on live stream, or a little exclusive look there. Let's see. Judah said, how do you feel about the video game inflation? I want to play Re 9. I don't know what that game is, but it's too damn expensive. Yeah, video game inflation. Yeah, man, it's really damn high out here for these games. Like, I know some of these new Nintendo games for like the Nintendo Switch. So I believe there's like a new Switch coming out, right? They're like what, $80, $90? Shit, I saw like a remake older game selling for $100, like one of these Mario games. like Mario Kart or something like that. They want $100. Oh, he said Resident Evil 9. Okay. Yeah, Resident Evil. I don't really play that stuff, but I know my buddy John, right, Rock Upon him, he was big into that stuff, right? He was big into that stuff. It reminds me, I used to play with John, right? Like outside of YouTube, me and him used to play PUBG together, right? That's probably not popular today, but PUBG stood for Player Unknown's Battleground, right? That was a big popular mobile game back in like 2017, 18, 19, maybe even 2020 as well. We used to play that, and there was like an update they had where it was like Resident Evil zombies. John was like big into that, right? He was obsessed with that. So yeah, these games are getting hella expensive out here, man. And then these gaming systems, right? Shit's going for, what, $500, $600, $800 out here. It's ridiculous. Like, I'll give another example. Like, even some of these used game systems are damn expensive. Like, I was at the mall the other day, and I saw in like a used store, right? They had like used video games and used consoles there, and they had an Xbox One there for like $300, right? Used for $300. And I literally stopped back yesterday because I needed something else that another supplier was selling in the mall. So I was like, you know what? Let me just stop over at that store and see if some dummy actually bought that shit. And it turns out somebody did. Right? They bought it, and then the 2 extra controllers they paid $50 extra for. It's like, okay. Like I was looking at these sneaker resellers earlier. I got addicted to a couple of videos I thought were pretty entertaining, where like people bring their like expensive sneakers, right, and Air Jordans or whatever, and try to like resell them to these sneaker collectors and sneaker stores. And it's real funny how expensive some of these shoes so-called are. Again, all these shoes are like made of the same materials, right? Same plastic, same fabric, and rubber or whatnot. And the thing that makes them so-called so expensive is just because they might be by a certain brand with like a certain logo on it, or 2 logos on it, or a certain dye color. Knuckleheads out here, paying free grand for, a well, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, a good piece of like early 2000s shoes that are in great condition. It's like, what the hell? Like, dude, I'm out here. You're not even gonna catch me spending $100 on shoes. Shit, the shoes I wear are $60 tops. Right, $60 tops is the price I pay for my shoes. And I don't have many shoes. All I have is a couple of pairs of Crocs and a pair of work boots, which, by the way, I also got those for like, I think we got them for like $60 too, if not $50. They were on sale. But I can't believe that there's knuckleheads going out there spending $3,000-$4,000 on just a pair of shoes just to display in their room. Like, seriously? Like this is what people out here wasting their money on today? Like, I mean, you can't be serious. Like, out here, a trip to the grocery store cost you an arm and a leg. But knuckleheads are out here spending, $4 grand on a pair of shoes just because it has a celebrity's, picture or icon on it. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Judah said, even Skechers is more expensive, and we used to roast people for wearing Skechers for being cheap in the early 2020s. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, what I used to wear to school, I used to just wear some of them damn cheap Velcro shoes, right? Them damn, $30, $40 Velcro shoes. That's what I was wearing. And, really, you don't need much more than that. Well, depends on, depends on your likings, I guess we could say, right? Depends on your likings. Right, but back in school, just a pair of just regular Velcro shoes, that's all I need. In fact, shit, I even have my backpack even to this very day. Right, the backpack I have right now is like some type of the green backpack that I got in first grade. Right, and I had it all throughout my schooling, which I never went to high school, but I had it through the, we'll say, elementary and middle, right? But the point is, I had it all throughout my schooling, and I still have it today in like some type of locker I got in the room. Um, but yeah, but to be honest with you, I don't even know how that managed to stay throughout all the years. And I just happened to randomly find it in the box one day. It's like, damn, they actually survived. I thought I lost that, but it ends up I didn't. Judah said, I spent $29 for my Walmart shoes. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, man. $29, $30. That's it works. It works. I mean, what can you say? Like, one thing that I regret is that in Florida there was a sneaker store. Well, really just in general, a shoe store. And they were having a great deal, right? A great deal sale that was like some type of closing sale. So they wanted to get rid of the shoes they had. And believe it or not, this was the deal. If you buy 2 pairs of Crocs, it'll be $20 each. So $40 for 2 pair of Crocs. I was like, what the hell? $40 for 2 pair of Crocs? Damn, that's a steal right there. Because a pair of Crocs out here is like $65. Well, you can find discounts on them if you're lucky. Like say around the holiday times, you can find a deal on like Amazon where you can pay $40 for 1 pair of Crocs, which again is actually not bad at all, considering the fact that they're like $65. There's some collectible ones that are worth hundreds of dollars. Well, not really worth hundreds of dollars, but people imagine, right? Imagine that they're worth hundreds of dollars. Said 29 is expensive for me. Oh yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Hey, you're not the only one without, a pot to piss in, as the saying goes. Yeah, I hear you. I've as I said, I didn't grow up having anything. I lived in the trailer park. On hell on TV, I'd have 5 channels, right? The damn Cubo channel, right? I didn't have no Nickelodeon or Disney Channel for years. Eventually, I got those, but for years I didn't have them. All I had was that damn Cubo channel. And shit, and then I believe I got the Boomerang as well. But anyway, I hear you, man. It's hard to try to save up some money. It's not easy to do. Got to try to like discipline yourself for a little bit. And that again, not easy to do, but you got to try to do that. Save a couple dollars here and there, and it'll start to add up. Like, I'll give you an example. When I was 16, I saved all my $5 bills. I did that over the course of 2 years. I ended up having $3,500 in $5 bills. And, like, I deliberately went out of my way to get fives. Like, say, for instance, I go to the store, ask the guy, hey, can I exchange this 20 for 4 fives? Or go to the gas station and ask them if they'll let me do it. And then I would immediately put that away and not touch it. And then when I got my check from work, I'd immediately take like $50 of that, exchange it for all fives, and put that away into the $5 savings jar that I had. And I did that for 2 years. I had $3,400 saved up. And I also did the same thing with my coins. I saved all my coins that I got for 2 years. I had $1,150 saved up. So it just goes to show that if you do save it up over some time, it really does add up. So, what I'd recommend people do is this would be a smart thing and a little reward for yourself at the end of the year as well. But what you should do is in like, January, you should start a jar for all your coins and then for like, say, a couple extra, bills if you have any here or there, and then just throw it into it. Right. If you keep doing that every month at the end of the year in December, where I would just cash it in January, right, in the new year. And then you'll have, a decent chunk of change left for yourself, right? If you just hold on to your extra spare change you get at the store, and then a couple bills here and there, if you can manage to throw, 3 or 4 in there, every once in a while. No, you could have a couple $100, at the end of the year, for whatever you might need it for. That's just a good recommendation for people to start doing. Okay, let me see. Let me just check something real quick. I noticed on the StreamYard when I came on here to do the stream, there's like what is it? I was gonna say a fourth, but it's actually a fifth, like icon here. It's like a clipboard, and if you click on the clipboard, it's called a teleprompter, and it's basically just a spot where you can write like notes. Like, say for instance, if I want to write, talk about how much Jill is a dumbass, just for an example. Or I could write down, make sure I respond to Troy Taylor and his idiotic claims. Or I could write down, make sure I make mention of Mark the 5th chapter, just for an example. And I could just type that down over here in the teleprompter, right, in the clipboard. And then whenever I need to see my notes, I just click over on that, and there I go. And I can even like set it up before I do the live stream. Like, say if I set the live stream up for like tomorrow night, I could come on in like 5 hours from now and type on the clipboard what I want to talk about, a couple of notes, so that I can always just flip over to it when I'm here doing the live show. And I thought, yeah, that's actually a really useful feature. I'm glad they did that, and more importantly, to let us use it for free. So, hey, once again, shout out to StreamYard for letting us use their service for free, right? They definitely deserve some respect for that, because most of these services are not letting you use it for free. Shit, that was something I wanted to talk about. Now it just totally slipped the mind. But yeah, man, it's a lot of stuff going on. That's all I can say. Just a lot of stuff going on right now. You know what I find funny? I had to rant about this on a recent video I did. But what I find so hilarious to me is, here it is. You got the war in Iran going on. You got them hitting these cargo ship containers in some chain gulf they have over there that these guys need to travel through to get their oil, right? And here it is, these knucklehead presidents are still on YouTube. Oh, living in the kingdom. Christ rules over all nations today. The end already came 2,000 years ago. Now, there's nothing going on today. We're all living in peace today. I mean, come on. How are there people who are so dumb out here? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can people be so dumb and ignorant and just mentally unwell, we'll say? I mean, seriously, like if you're a preterist in the year 2026, you're just mentally unstable. Seriously, like how the hell can any rational person sit there and say, "Well, I don't know, man. The Bible was completely fulfilled in 70 AD, right? That was the conclusion of the Bible. You know, Christ returned and took power over the earth. All nations bow down to him today." What the hell are you talking about? Knucklehead, there's nations on earth where you can get locked up if you have a Bible in your possession. There's places on earth where they're burning churches. There's places on earth where they're burning the Bible. There's places on earth right now where Christians are being rounded up and deleted. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is serious shit going on today. And you knucklehead just want to sit there on YouTube and talk about, well, Christ is rolling today. Well, we're living in a good time. You know, the church isn't going through any persecution. Like, I mean, seriously, if you ask these guys, but what about the persecution that believers are going through today? They'll try to, tell you, well, we're spiritually not going through persecution today. Maybe, sure, physically, but, mentally or spiritually, we're not. You know what I'm saying? Well, what the hell are these idiots talking about on here? And YouTube seems to be infested with these morons. These guys, they seem to be everywhere. Feel like I was on some random podcast the other day, like New Creations Arena or something like that. And the guy on there I was talking to for the first time, he mentioned to me, well, yeah, I could consider myself to be a preterist. And I was like, oh boy, well, here we go again. Here we go again. You know what I'm saying? Like you just can't escape these idiots. Yo, how's it doing, Luke? Hope you're doing well, my friend. I gave you a shout out earlier in the stream, so maybe you'll check that out later. But yeah, how you doing, my friend, Luke? It's been a while. Yeah, he said, "Oh yeah, they're fools." Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly what these knuckleheads are. I mean, how the hell could you convince yourself that the end times already passed 2,000 years ago? Christ rules over all nations today. I mean, you're just mentally unwell if you believe that. I mean, you can't honestly believe it. But the most mind-numbing thing is, right? The most um, what's the word I'm looking for? The most unbelievable thing, for lack of better terms, is how many people believe this dumb shit. Like, that's the most unbelievable part, is how many people out here believe this and will literally fight you tooth and nail. But like seriously, if you ever see this knucklehead, a Truth and Tellers Ministry debate about preterism, the dude gets so violent and uh deeply offended by you calling him ignorant. The dude, it seems like he's almost ready to, to rip somebody's throat out, over questioning preterism. It's like, whoa, bro, take a chill pill. You don't have to, act like a damn wild beast on here. You don't have to act like Cherry Love. Inside joke. Shout out to anybody who knows what I'm talking about. Right? You don't have to act like a wild beast like Vocab's Cherry Love. Oh boy, you got to be a long time subscriber to know what the hell I'm talking about. That's a joke right there. Right? Vocab's beast. Cherry Love, right? Part of the Shield Squad. Call those guys the Shield Squad, right? This knucklehead vocab, like 8-9 years ago, these guys used to have the Shield Squad, right, with these Christian apologists and shit. Call those dudes the Shill Squad, right? A bunch of shills, and as Minus Shireg would call them all, we're actors, we're all actors, right? As he would call them. And by the way, somebody asked earlier in the comment section, I believe it was SKS. I believe SKS, right? Which I don't know why the hell the guy's named that. The dude literally is named after a sniper rifle from PUBG Mobile. I don't get that part, but whatever. But he asked earlier, has anybody seen Mind of God? Has anybody saw T-Mog anywhere? Like, whatever happened to him? Is his channel even around anymore? And I responded and said, yeah, his channel is around. What Shreg said is that when he leaves YouTube, he's going to leave his channel up so people can watch his old content, but he's not going to teach anymore because he acknowledges that his predictions are wrong. And you know what? You got to give him some type of respect for that because he acknowledged his mistake and saw that he is wrong, so he stopped teaching. It's like, yeah, hey, you got to give the guy credit for that. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Shrek was a good guy. It'd be good if he came back. But guess what? If he did come back, he can't be teaching this bullshit about, rapture sequence, rapture sequence. Oh, well, Christ will come back by, you know, January 2027 or some bullshit like that. Like seriously, year after year, month after month, the dude would come up with this sequence. Oh, sequence. Oh, Christ return. Oh, this date. I mean, it's like, no, dummy. It's obviously not true. I myself, Galapagos, even Jay, um, probably Luke as well, among other people, warned this guy. No, man, you can't be sitting here saying this shit. This is really important. Hey, the Bible says in the last chapter of the Bible, it said, was that Revelation 22, verse 18, 19, anybody who takes away from the Bible, God's going to take their name out of the book of life. And anybody who adds to the Bible, God's going to add to them the plagues of the Bible. That's what it says. So if you're going around putting all these dates and shit, that's lies, and claiming that God showed you that, well, guess what? You're going completely off. Like, look at this numbskull, Brother Joshua, right? This South African priest. Everybody watched this dummy on TikTok. That guy was like, oh, Christ showed me that he's coming back on September 23rd. We all must get ready, everyone. And like literally hundreds of thousands of people lost their minds, sold their homes, got rid of their children, emptied their bank accounts, sold their cars for $10 because they were so convinced. Oh, they quit their jobs, right? Called their employer and cursed them out and tell them they're not coming back because they're getting raptured tomorrow. And look what happened. 23rd came and nothing happened. And then, of course, they'd say, well, it's really next week or really, December 23rd or February 23rd. You know how these idiots think. They can never acknowledge that they're wrong, right? They always have to be right. They'll just change the timing. It's like, how long is it going to take you knuckleheads to realize that you're just wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody wants to admit that they're wrong. Everybody wants to be right all the time. And it really is sad and pathetic. Like this other knucklehead, what's this guy's channel? New Light Studios, right? New Light Studios. Guys on there like literally every other day doing a video about, oh, well, Jesus might come back. Literally sitting there for 9 hours on live stream every day. Oh, well, let's watch for the rapture to happen, right? At any moment, we all could just be raptured away in some magic event. It's like, knucklehead, if you guys actually read the Bible, you'd see it literally says in Matthew 24:29 that immediately after the tribulation of those days, the Son of Man will return, and then he'll send his angels to save his elect. So the Bible gave you a clue. It didn't say exactly when it's going to happen, but it told you it won't happen until after the tribulation. I mean, that's clearly not right now today. I mean, if you can't see that, you're just, willfully blind. I mean, other than that, I don't know what to tell you. Hey, just like I joke with Galapagos, but it's a true statement. Hey, look, when the word comes out, them demons come out, right? When the word comes out, them demons come out. And that's just a true statement, right? When the word comes out, the demons come out. And it's just sad and pathetic out here, man. All these people are being, led down the wrong path by listening to these, false teachers. It always seems to these knuckleheads, these liars, and sweet talkers that always get the following, right? Always getting the super chats, always getting the full panels, always getting the people to flock to their channel. And you know what? It really isn't a surprise because, again, people are drawn to that. That's what people like to hear and see, right? Whoever can shout and scream the loudest, right? Whoever can give them the, sweetest story, right? Whoever can sell them the sweetest story that they want to hear gets all the views and followers. That's just what it is. Realistically, it shouldn't be that way, but, it makes sense as to why it's like that because, people are drawn to what makes them feel good. People don't want to hear the truth, right? People want to hear what makes them feel sweet and fuzzy on the inside, and that's just a sad reality. That's just a sad truth. But guess what? The few of us that come around here, right? The few of us that come around these panels, we can see through that deception. We can see through that lie. And that's a good thing because there's not many of us out there. There's not many of us out here who are able to, see through the deception laid before us. So the few of us that can see through it, that's truly something to be proud of. Because for every one of you who can see through the deception, there's another, million that can't see through it. And that's just a fact. That's just what it is. So anyway, I don't want to make this video too drawn out. We're approaching an hour here, so I will wrap this up at the hour mark. For those who missed it, who are just tuning in now, I did do an entire 2-hour live stream, literally just before this one, so do check that one out if you missed it. But yeah, thank everybody for stopping by tonight. Good live stream, and have a good night.